What up, my people? ¿Qué pasa, mi gente? Welcome, bienvenidos to another episode, otro episodio de Hoy en Día TV. I'm your host and producer, Yessie Rodriguez, bringing on to the stage my amazing co-hosts. Two, they're with us both today, Dr. C. Andrew, the actionist, and Nadine Barton, entrepreneur, author. Yes. Welcome, lovelies.
Yes.
Hey,
What I was
happy
gonna do, Yessie, I was gonna go downstairs because my connection is kind of not connecting. So I'm just gonna go downstairs because I can't have this.
Yeah, no problem. I'll take you offline and then just I'll see you when you come back.
Oh.
All right, sis, how you been?
Doing good, sis. Doing really, really good. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. You know, our weather's been cooling off. You know, we're both here in North Carolina, so the weather's been changing. We're seeing the leaves change colors. So I love that about North Carolina, just having those 4 seasons. You can really, truly see the distinction between one from the other. So all the beautiful colors of the leaves changing. It's really kind of nice. Yep, doing good, though. How about you?
I'm doing wonderful. Blessed, and just thank God each and every day for just everything, all the blessings and opportunities and just all the downloads and wisdom and just everything. I'm just happy.
I like that. I'm just happy. I like that. That should be for everybody. I'm just happy.
It's all about perspective, right? When people see things in negative light, right? I get things that are considered negative or bad happen, but it's about perspective. What is the positive that comes out of it? And I say that often, all the time on the show, is look at the positive from what you think is a negative, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'm doing. Just with anything, all the blessings, you know, I have a clean bill of health. I have amazing opportunities, amazing careers, you know, businesses. I mean, it's I have wonderful friends like you and Nadine, and so it's like Mayday. Nothing to complain about here, but
yes. Life is, and I like that. What you say is about perspective, because truly, it really truly is. That's what it all boils down to. Whether you choose to see the situation as something negative and dire, or if you see just to say, hey, you know, I'm just having a tough time right now, but I'm going to see the positive in it, right? Because it's going to grow me. It's going to help make me stronger, make me better. I'm going to learn new things from it. Kind of sucks that I'm going through it, but I'm not going to come out on the other side, right? Because we always come out on the other side. Prayerfully, okay?
Absolutely. And like you said, and what we talked about last week too, prayer without action is nothing, right? So with that in mind, keeping that prayer, but putting that action behind it is how you're going to see the results. This is just a reminder for those who need that. So overall, yes, everything is beautiful.
That's good. I've been doing this 5 a.m. prayer thing with one of the ministries that I'm a part of. And this is our second time doing this now. So we did it back in September and the people just can't get enough. And so we're doing it now in October. And look, I'm sleepy, y'all, okay? Like 5 o'clock, you know, that is not the time for your girl. Now it used to be because it had to be, being military and all, but that's not my body clock time. But we've been on, and the people have really been pressing out. The numbers keep going up and up and up. I think we had about 44 people on the call at 5 o'clock this morning. And this is people all over the nation. So we got people in California. That's a 3-hour time difference. So 5 o'clock here Eastern, but they're on Pacific. So it's like 2 a.m. there. You know, we got people in New Jersey, New York. These are, you know, we got people in Canada. I'm telling y'all, it's something that's taken off and it's something that's so amazing. And the people just keep showing up and they continue to share their testimonies. And it's all about the perspective, right? So situations start out bad, dire. You feel like you have no hope. And then God just turns it all around. He just changes it, right? And then it just shows that we've been seeing people miraculously healed from cancer, stage 4 to like 0 cancer. Kid you not. Doctor medical reports on it's been insane in such a good way. So it's just been amazing, but all the positivity coming from it, all the encouragement from just having a community of support with people like-minded, people always trying to help encourage, right? You need it. You know, the world is very dark. And so we need people encouraging us always. Nadine, you made it back looking good.
Yeah, the lighting sucks, but the Wi-Fi is better down here, and I'm just sick of it. I'm definitely going to buy that connection because I can't keep doing this, y'all.
But we can still see your beautiful face, so it's all good. And I don't see anything wrong with the lighting. I mean, I can see you just fine.
Because I have like a ring light. I have my little different lights.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, Nadine, Cece and I had a chance to catch up, ma'am. How are you? How has your week been? What have you been up to? Talk to us.
Oh, this girl is tired. I've been doing a lot of driving. As you know, we're filming, this week actually my girlfriend's husband. So I play an examiner in that movie coming up. So you guys be on the lookout for that. It's gonna be great. And the wonderful Miss Kiki Laurie, she's the director for that. And it's gonna be great. Just wait for the juicy, juicy storylines. As you know, I mean, I've been posting a little bit of behind the scenes on it. So it's gonna be great.
So let me get this straight. You said the title is My Girlfriend's Husband.
Mhm.
That's a different title. That's a
It
very
is.
different title. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to catch a quick synopsis of that, ma'am, because that sounds just with the title alone just sounds interesting. So,
Right. Movies, it could be anything.
but just the
And
thought that
yes,
you have a girlfriend that has a husband, though, that's kind of concerning.
Yeah, you just gotta wait and see to watch it.
All right. What were you gonna say, CC?
yeah, well, I've been checking out some of your work. I watched one of your scenes, one of your movies that you was because you're in quite a few, but it was one. It was I don't remember the name of it, but it was the girl. She was shy. She was a black girl in the movie. She was shy, and this guy he liked her, and you came in. It was a party that they had invited you to or something, and you came in. And you was like, oh, like this one it. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, there she is. You're on the big screen. Woo! So that was super cool.
Thank you. Yes, that's actually beautifully insecure. I was the a supporting role in that one. So I played the best friend to the lead actress who suffers from alopecia,
Um,
and
actually,
she didn't know how to come out to this guy that she liked, which ended up liking her as well. But pretty much it just tells a story of the journey of a young woman who is battling internally with how to really accept the fact that she has alopecia with
Mm.
hair loss. And it's a really deep story, but I play the comedic relief best friend who kind of adds the extra humor and helps her see things from a different perspective. It was an amazing movie, so shout out to the director Nakia, and who's also the producer. But yeah, I love this. It was a fun movie, and everyone on set was just amazing too. It's just it always helps the process of filming be better when the people you're working with are great, cool individuals who also take it seriously, right? So everybody showed up, came to work. We delivered that product, and to from the last I've heard, as of last year, it had over like 4 million views. So I don't know what it is at this year, but it's yeah, it was a powerful message for sure. So for those who haven't caught or watched Beautifully Insecure yet, I highly recommend it.
yes, I remember telling you when I watched it. I think I watched a couple of them that you were on, and it was great. Yeah,
Thank you. I
the
appreciate it.
storyline was great. It
Yeah,
was well written, and it portrays a great message for the people to see. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that girl
And
that was being a bully, I just wanted to reach through the screen and grab her up.
I know. And Nadine, I'm glad you brought that up because I am very selective with what I say yes to, right? Being an actor, you can't say yes to everything, especially with me having the morals and beliefs I have. Like, because a lot of times you can get typecasted, and what that means is because of a certain look or body type or sex appeal, so to speak, people can typecast you to a certain role, like a gangster's wife or a stripper or what have you. And I chose not to do that. I'm like, no, I am more than all of that typecasting, right? And so a lot of the roles that I pick, I'm very selective. And to be honest, I've turned down a lot of opportunities because of that, because I hold truth to who I am, what I'm willing to do and not do. And even yeah, I'm just very strict and passionate about that. So I say that to say for all the actors or individuals who want to get into the acting, you don't have to say yes to everything. It's okay.
Facts.
No. And know your value, right? When you stand firm on who you are, what you're about, and what you're willing to do and not do, that's how people show you more respect, and that's how your value increases. So it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. So
Mhm.
well, you taught me a new words, new verbiage, and I'll always love to learn. Get my words right. The typecasting, because oftentimes, you will see things. You'll see certain actors that they always play the same role. So it's typecasting. So just learn something new. Okay, I'm not an actress. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
no problem. Absolutely.
And
So what's going on in the world today? I know we I know we've been chatting about so many things. Nadine, you sent a video earlier about a little boy that was, they sang happy birthday to him. I'm not sure how old he was and that kind of thing. But then the teacher sang another remix version of the birthday song, and it was very disturbing. Any more information on that video?
No, so from what I've been seeing, the mom, she's been, putting it all over social media. They contacted the school, and from what I've learned so far, the teacher, is not suspended. I don't know as of today yet what happened. I don't know, maybe still under investigation. I just think it was a terrible thing. I mean, kids, they were there sitting down. Even the kids behind them, they were laughing about it. They probably didn't know the gist of what was said, what was going on. They thought it was funny, but they don't know it's funny. Like some people were saying, racism is taught. Those kids
Right.
they're 6 years old. They don't know any better.
Yeah, I saw the face of the one kid that was in the back, and he looked like this isn't right. You know what I'm saying? He probably didn't have the words, but it seemed like it didn't feel right to him because his face was kind of like unbelievable. Like, am I hearing what I think I'm hearing? He might not be able to process because he's only like a kindergartner, right? But I was like, that's kind of weird and that's not cute. And I don't know what would, make her think that singing a song like that was okay, thinking it was funny and stuff. But it's like, what's really in your heart? These are babies, it's their first years in school, so that kind of disturbed me a lot. Well, not kind of, it disturbed me a lot. So yeah, I hope that the mom brings awareness to this because yeah, that can't be.
And I think maybe it's, I don't know, the lady from a can of paint, maybe it's what she's used to in her household. Maybe it's what she grew up to see. Because some of the comments were saying, maybe back in the days, the slavery days, that's what they were singing. But guess what? We're not in those days anymore, even though they're probably trying to bring it back again, but we're not in those days. So some of the comments they were saying, oh, it's just for fun or whatever, but they got to realize that instead, are we supposed to be moving forward or are we moving backwards?
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. While you all were talking, I did some research here, and the incident reported occurred back a few days ago, actually, the 29th of this week, September 29, 2025, at Floral Avenue Elementary School in Polk County, Florida. During a class birthday celebration, after singing the regular happy birthday song, the teacher asked the student if he wanted a funny, what she considered a funny version. And when he nodded yes, because he didn't know what was about to happen, she said, "Happy birthday to you. You live in the zoo. You look like a monkey and you smell like one too." The 6-year-old boy, whose name is Legend Whitaker, and his mother, Desiree Prather, views the song as racist slurs and feels her son was humiliated and traumatized. The teacher sent the video off to the class as a celebration, including the funny song to the mother. Now, Polk County Public Schools announced that they are reviewing the teacher's conduct and the actual footage. And Nadine, you are correct. As of today, she has not been suspended, at least not publicly, and as of the latest reports, and we are at October 2nd. So I agree with you as a parent. That's not, no, that's just not, no. Mm-mm. You can't do that. And they're lucky. She's lucky it wasn't me because I was going to take it all. I would take it all the way to Congress. Like, ma'am, you ain't ever going to work a day in your life with no kids, no nothing, because you know, like, why are you showing these poor little 6-year-old kids that are impressionable? One, and I agree with you both. It's you're teaching racism. No, we need to stop. It needs to change today, and it should have changed a long time ago.
And it doesn't
And
matter if
I
race, whether it was black, white, green, yellow, it doesn't matter the race. Regardless of what it was, it's not acceptable.
Right.
Yeah. And I just wonder, like, was it just done in good humor, good taste? I don't know, because you just don't know people's upbringings. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt because sometimes people just don't know. And it might have been really super innocent. She might not have meant anything by it. She might not even been known the connotation. You know what I'm saying? I just try to be open like that. But it was disturbing to me, right? Being an African-American female and just kind of knowing the history, of our country and stuff. But I try to move past that too. I really try to be colorblind, truly, honestly. I mean, I know we see color every day, but I just choose to just not live in that because that's just something that is used, not even like say by the government, but just by forces and powers that are unseen in the spiritual world, right? The Bible tells us very clearly about these things, and it's just a tool to keep people divisive. And so I hate it. I really, really hate it. Kids are innocent, kids are pure, and they love each other. And they're just amazing. And I hope that I hope that it's really going to depend on how that mother has a conversation with this little boy, because they can really blow it out of the water, or she can kind of, help him to cope with it, because he might not even think anything about it. You know what I'm saying? And so it might not be a time for her to explain it maybe in its totality, maybe until he's a little bit older or something. I don't know. Like, what do you kind of do as a parent, with this? Is it something that you sit on for a teaching lesson down the road? Because, maturity and age, and for him to be able to understand, that's going to have to take place as well. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, should mom have the conversation like, oh, they meant it as this? Because maybe she didn't. Maybe she did. We really don't know. Right.
Right. So I will say this, and I'll respond to your question, but I also have a follow-up question for you, because you are a substitute teacher, right? So with that in mind, I agree that the mom, hopefully she's already had the conversation with her son to help him understand, that things like this unfortunately will happen because of the color of the skin. And also, it's like this teacher it's an adult, and racism has been taught for years on what to say and not say. So as a teacher, I'm sure she would have gotten like a guidebook, so to speak, or maybe colleagues talking amongst each other of what to do and what not to do. And so keeping that in mind, that's what follows up my question to you as a substitute teacher. Did you get any like hints or heads up, like, hey, this is what you do, this is what you don't do? Do you get a guidebook? Like, how do you deal with things like that, especially with dealing with other kids with different cultures?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we get a guidebook. But of course, everything is not in it, because there's new situations every day. But you do get a guidebook, and then you have to have morals and values about yourself, just to kind of be like, I'm not going to say that stuff. Because if you had children in class, oh, they call me a monkey, he called me a monkey, he called me a cow. They get upset by that little stuff. Kindergartners, man, I'm telling you, they're like kindergartners, y'all. He's like the mafia, man. These kids are tough. Like, they're awesome. They're awesome, but they're tough, man. You got to have some thick skin with these kinders, right? But yeah, you get a guidebook, rules and regs on how to conduct yourself, language and stuff, all of that stuff, right? You do different trainings and stuff, all before you get put into the mix, with the school. And hopefully all schools are doing that. And I know they probably aren't, right? But hopefully all good schools will be doing that. All schools, not even, all schools should be good schools, right? But I would hope that they would be doing that. So yeah, you do get that. You need to know how to talk, even just in at your own job, right? You go through trainings, professional development trainings and stuff, and how to talk, etiquette, all these things, right? In the work center, right? Because there's certain things you can and cannot say, right? Nadine and I can attest to that. Even in the military, there's certain etiquette when you go to different countries. There's certain things you cannot say, certain gestures you cannot make, because that can set it off in that country, right? So you are given guidelines and rules to kind of help you along with that. Mm-hmm. On another topic, I wanted to bring up the whole furlough. What's going on with the furlough? Because I have family members that are being affected by it. My mother-in-law, in fact, and but it's about her perspective. So she's taking it on the positive end. She's like, "Hey, it's just a little mini vacation, some well-needed rest, that kind of thing." So I don't know if any of your family members are being affected by the furlough, but I got to tell you from my own self, I'm like sick of it. I'm like, we have these adults in our nation running, supposed to be running our nation. And the fact that we just can't get it together, we're always having issues with the budget. But the fact is you keep taxing, but you can't manage what you got. And it's just, enough is enough. Like, we need to figure it out. But here's the thing, they're getting paid, right? But the Americans that's working for these, they're not, the average American, they're not getting a paycheck. But Congress, they're still getting a paycheck. They're still getting paid, and that's not right.
Ever since I've been in the military, that it's like every year or every other year, there's always a threat about furlough. And sometimes if it's not the active duty, it's the civilians. And most times and others, it's always the civilians that's affected, and it's not right. You know what I mean? Because that's like affecting everybody's livelihood.
Absolutely. And having been an active duty military member and working in the medical services as a PT, right? Physical therapy, I was a physical therapy technician there, working in the military for a period in time. It affects your patient care because those civilians are vital, right? To help us out with our patient load when you're seeing 24 patients per provider. You know what I'm saying? So if those civilians aren't there, guess what? My patient load just doubled. And guess what? Can I keep up with that? Military expects you to be a machine and make it happen and get it done. So you make it happen and get it done. But is it really quality care? So everyone is affected on every level. from the active duty service member to the civilians to whomever, right? Everybody's being affected.
Right, right. That's so sad. And so, for those who are just tuning in, we are talking about the government shutdown and the furlough that took place. Federal government officially shut down as of yesterday, October 1st at 12:01 a.m. But Congress failed to pass appropriations or a stopgap funding measure. The shutdown stems largely from partisan disagreement over spending levels, foreign aid, and the extension of health insurance subsidies. The Senate twice failed to pass competing funding proposals, including a Republican-led bill and a Democratic alternative. So, with that in mind, it is estimated that over 800,000 federal workers have been furloughed, just like CC and Nadine were just sharing, and another 700,000 are working without pay. So, currently, they're working without pay. Some agencies are facing especially deep cutbacks, including NASA furloughed 83% of its workforce. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, also known as CISA, retained only 35% of its staff during the shutdown. HHS, which stands for Health and Human Services, will furlough 41% of employees. CDC, 64% have been furloughed, and an NIH, 75% furloughed. With that in mind, also essential services such as the National Defense, Air Traffic Control, law enforcement, and Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid continue to operate through staffing and responsiveness may have also been affected with this. So some programs that depend on the discretionary funding, grant programs, public health research, WIC, NIH clinical research, are likely curtailed or even paused. So what does that mean? What's next in timing? So the Senate has scheduled further votes. Next opportunity is Friday in an attempt to pass a funding measure. Until an agreement has been reached, the shutdown will continue. There is no clear timeline yet today for this resolution. After past shutdowns, Congress often passes retroactive funding to pay furloughed workers under the Government Employee Fair Act Treatment Act of 2019. Federal workers and military personnel must receive back pay once the shutdown ends. So those are the latest updates. What are your thoughts about that? That's some high percentages I just read out here.
Yeah, they were really high. And, like I said, I have family that's being affected by it. At least, she has savings and things of that nature, right, to do life. And then we're here too to help. But for those family members or just people, that are out there, the listening audience that may have been affected, they may not have savings. Prices have not went down on anything, right? Prices are still up. Grocery market prices are still very high. And so that's a problem, right? Because now that's just adding another stressor in your life. We're still reeling from COVID. Like we're really still kind of getting back even from COVID still, right? And now we might be facing another whole pandemic, So it's difficult. And I wonder, what their people's, psychological mental health, when these things happen, I don't know if it's just like a normal, part of like, oh, this year we might be furloughed, just kind of make yourself prepare or not, or however, it's just, I just think, with our government that walk a mile in our shoes. You know what I'm saying? Just walk in the poorest person's shoes. Cause I don't think any person in Congress would be able to live a week in the poorest person's shoes. They wouldn't know what to do, how to do it without water, without food, they wouldn't know. So I just hope that they are able to come together. I'm so sick and tired of our country being divided, Republican. I'm so sick of it. We are the united. Hello, united. That means together, right? States of America. And we need to come together and be as such. And be as such. Enough is enough. The division has to cease and desist. And we have to come together on one accord as a people, as a nation. Like we know the word of God is true. Divided, a house divided will fall. It's just a matter of time. We're seeing it happening right now. It's just, it's going to get worse, y'all. It's going to get worse. America is in big trouble. We got to get it together as a nation, as a country, as a people.
Listen, I went to the supermarket yesterday and I saw a box of mangoes. I think it had 6 mangoes. Not that I think, I know. It had 6 mangoes in it. Just take a guess how much it was for the 6 mangoes that were in those boxes.
$10.
6 mangoes.
$15.
$18.99.
Oh my. Let's take a trip to Puerto Rico and go get some mangoes right now.
Right? Let me go to Jamaica and climb some
Or
trees,
Jamaica,
girl.
right? Jamaica has mangoes. Let's go to Jamaica. Jamaica
Let me go
money.
climb some mango trees, okay?
Right. You go by a tree, just pick them. Pick them. That's horrible. What in the world?
1899. I mean, yes, the mangoes were big, but it's not like you could bite into it, and it's not guaranteed they're going to be sweet anyway. So that was ridiculous.
Right. That's horrible. That is horrible. Oh gosh. Yeah, that's just frustrating. um, Food just in itself, especially when you're trying to eat healthy. Mangoes are a healthy food and fruit, right? And so they definitely are going to want to they jack up those prices for that purpose because they know that people like you are going to invest in it, which is really unfortunate because that's not cool. You can't be ripping people off like that. Come on now. No,
Listen, yes, I'm from Jamaica. I could sit and eat 6 mangoes in one day, okay?
I believe you. I believe you. Just like me with avocados. I love some avocados. I can in Puerto Rico go back backyard, get pull up the avocados from the tree. Go, hey, we're good, right? Oh man. Oh gosh. And talking about Puerto Rico, and it correlates to this federal thing here. I'm seeing a lot of politicians for some reason, especially I want to say it was the lady who's the attorney that represents the White House making remarks about NFL and Bad Bunny concert. Like, as I'm thinking about that, I'm like, and then she's saying the Americans don't want to watch that and blah blah blah. First of all, several thoughts came in my head. First of all, Puerto Rico is part of the U.S., right? It's a U.S. territory. Second of all, we're dealing with a government shutdown. Why are you even concerned about Bad Bunny performing at the NFL? Like, who cares? If you don't like it, just turn off the screen, pause it during that halftime, check on your kids, go prep yourself a meal, go get some more potato chips, a pizza. Like, come on now. We have bigger fish to fry than worrying about Bad Bunny and a concert. Like, really? So that really upsets me when politicians make all these like 2 cent remarks and it's like, sir, ma'am, sit down somewhere. We have a whole US being affected by this government shutdown. So what are y'all thoughts about that?
Oh, I agree. We got bigger fish to fry. Why is your mind on that when you got people without jobs, got real problems? These are real problems. Okay. Who cares about this performance? Who cares? Come on.
I was about to say I could care less.
And you know what? I'm glad both of y'all said that because that's why, again, and I always harp on this, and I'm going to keep harping on it. Midterm elections, people that you vote in office, midterm, which affects, it's like a chain reaction. Local level, local federal, then it goes up state level, then it goes up federal level. Who we vote in office affects all of this, all of it. And it starts at the local level, and that's where we as people are failing because the numbers do not match the percentages of those going out to vote for presidential elections. Those numbers for local midterm every 2 year elections should be higher than that. I should be seeing those at 100%. Everybody and their mothers that can vote should be out there voting for what's happening locally at the local level, at the state level, which again goes up in tier to that federal level and it affects those numbers. Are you with me? Do you all agree or disagree?
I'm right there with you. It starts there. Change always starts from the bottom. You got to work at the foundation. If the foundation's kind of, it's going to crack everything, and it's just going to topple. So absolutely. But people don't know that. They just think the whole presidential thing is everything. People don't even know who sits in which houses and what type of government bodies does what, legislative, judicial, all that. They don't know. I mean, this is basic government that we learn in school, but people don't know. Yep. They're like, oh, well, the judicial branch does what? The executive branch does what? Oh, the president doesn't really have all the power? No. Come on.
Exactly.
Come on, okay.
That's why we have Congress.
Oh gosh. So yeah, so with that in mind, the next U.S. midterm elections is scheduled for Tuesday, November 3rd, 2026, which is a whole year away. So with that, I really hope that the audience and listeners and viewers do your homework, do that research. You have a whole year plus to know who you're going to vote for. And I would love to see those numbers at 100%. Together, we can make a change. Together, when we come together, we can make a difference that we want to see. It's time for us to stop whining, stop complaining, and be a part of that change. If we want to see change, we have to act on it. And it's going to start with you voting. Okay. So, yeah. But nevertheless, let's transition over to our special guest that we have patiently waiting behind the scenes. Um,
She's
Yeah, but is
frozen.
she frozen?
Oh, there you go. You're back. Couldn't hear you there, Yessie. But we're back. It froze up on us. Yes. Yeah. But we're good.
I
We're good
think
either way.
powerful words are probably trying to stop me. You can go ahead and introduce our guest.
Fantastic. Talking about change, making some changes, right? Our next guest that's going to be on here very shortly, you're going to get to meet the man, right? This great man, right? Doing these great things. He is here to make a change in your life when it comes to your home purchases, right? Your real estate. Okay, let's get into this. We have Matt Freeze, who is a mortgage broker who swears that he can make even your most complicated loan scenario look simple. Now, I know you guys want to see that, all right? He says it's kind of like turning IKEA instructions into a children's, well, coloring book, right? It says when he's not saving deals, other lenders fumble, right? He's probably wrangling one of his dozen Myrtle Beach condotels or organizing business networking groups at local sports bars or convincing his wife that buying just one more property really is a good idea. He's been called a deal maker, a problem solver, and occasionally the guy who explains interest rates on TikTok with too much enthusiasm. Matt's life motto is this: if there is a will, there's a creative financing way. Without further ado, let's bring onto the stage Matthew Freeze. There he is. Fantastic. Welcome, Matt. We're so happy to have you here.
I appreciate y'all having me here. How's it going?
Hello.
Really good. Everything is moving along quite nicely. So you heard all the juicy topic we were talking about backstage and stuff while you were patiently waiting. So it's just like, we got to get this country together, right? Because we got to sell some houses, right? Real estate, man, I'm trying to tell you, it's a different animal today. I know some laws and things have changed in the real estate world and things of that nature. And so we definitely want to get into that with you. I know one of the first questions, Jesse's having some connectivity issues there. But I think you're ready, Yessie, to go ahead and kick us off. You know, we want to keep it. We can hear you and see you.
Well, welcome to Oyandia TV, Matt. And I apologize earlier. I realized when Cece read your last name, I was calling you Fries, and it's actually Freeze. So I apologize.
It's okay.
I saying your last name.
I answer to either or. I don't even notice when somebody says it one way or the other.
Well, it's pretty cool that the way that your last name is spelled it correlates to like fries, right? Like, hey, fries. So that's really nice.
I was saying fries too.
Well, before, like, years ago, nobody knew how it was spelled. Everyone just thought, like, before Facebook and internet really got popular, everyone just assumed it was Freeze. So everyone would spell it wrong. And then, everyone knew me as, Matt Freeze, Freeze. And then Facebook came around and the internet started becoming popular. And everyone I've known since I was a little kid, is that Fries? I thought that was Freeze.
I love that. Yes. So you have a very robust and impressive bio, but who do you say you are? At the end of the day, in a nutshell, who do you say Matt Freeze is?
Workaholic. No, I'm a busy guy. I can't slow down. I don't know. I don't know who I am. I try to give a little bit of time for everyone, all my clients, all the family, but I don't know who I am. It's just the busy guy, the yes man.
He is indeed a busy guy. He's a mover and shaker. He makes it happen. I have the honor of knowing him personally, and he's just a great guy. They were our neighbors, and when we moved in, they were just so fun and happy, and they throw the best parties, y'all. They throw like the absolute best parties, right? So everybody comes out, everyone knows the reasons, and so it's always a good time. So he is a busy guy. He's always making it happen, and just making a difference in the lives of those that he serves. And so with that, let's get into what you do, because you're doing, you're a mortgage broker and stuff. Tell us a little bit about your company and what you do for people and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm a mortgage broker. I went from working for a bank as a branch manager, and I was over all these loan officers. And finally, I said, I didn't really fit into just doing the easy stuff. A lot of the times, I'm like, ooh, I could do this, and a lot of times, a lot of loan officers say just because you can doesn't mean you should, and a lot of times they're saying that to save their sanity because a lot of times a lot of the loan officers just want the easy stuff. And unfortunately, I'm a yes man. So I'm like, oh, I can make this happen. It's like putting together a puzzle for me. And I'm like, ooh, that piece goes there. And if somebody's like, yeah, I don't want to put that piece there. I'm like, but it fits there. I can make it work. And so I can't consciously I can't tell somebody no, sorry, you don't qualify for a home when I know I can make it work. It's just gonna be time consuming and make it, it's harder, but I know I can make this work for those that don't fit into the cookie cutter um scenario. And
I
so
like you're that guy too, and I know the audience will be happy to hear that, maybe happy and sad, because you're saying, I can figure out a way for you. When typically like bank lenders, they're like, no, there's no way. You just gotta. This is how it's structured. And if you don't meet all the checks in the boxes, then we can't do anything for you. But you're very different. You're very creative. Can you tell us kind of like the difference between a mortgage broker and a bank lender? Are they the same? Are they different? Like, what is that exactly?
So before when I worked for a bank, and actually in the state of North Carolina, I believe a bank can only broker 25% of what they do. So everything else has to be the normal Fannie Freddie, FHA, VA, the normal stuff. And then if you broker it out through like another bank who does creative stuff, you can only do 25% of that. So when I worked for the bank, they didn't want me doing too much of a lot of the stuff I do. So that's why I decided to go off on my own, start my own brokerage, and now I'm a straight broker shop. I'm not a bank. I work with like 30 to 40 banks, and like right now, right before we got on here, I have a client. He wants to buy a triplex. He sent me his taxes, and he makes good money, but his business took a loss. And so he for FHA, everyone else, he doesn't qualify for anything. So I just messaged him and said, "Hey, send me your bank statements. I'm gonna send this into one of the lenders. Will review them, look at your bank statements. We don't need your taxes. We're just gonna look at your bank statements, and based off your deposits and based off what you do, we're gonna use 70 to 80% of your deposits, and now you qualify." And so he's a little more excited now because I'm going to make it happen.
That is awesome. So let me ask you this. Let's say there's a big, prestigious, well-known business that's up for sale, and an individual approaches you and says, hey, this business is already making money, is turning over positive profit. But, the individual buying it may not have that much credit or leverage to purchase a business like that. What would you do in those type of scenarios? Do you look at the business because it's already turning over profit to hold it over as some sort of collateral, or what typically happens in situations like that?
So basically, all the transactions I do are real estate related. So if that business has a building, let's do it based off the building. And if the building appraises for what that business is selling for, then great. If it's not, if there's no building, there's no real estate attached to it. And even if there is real estate attached to it, I do tell, if it's commercial, I tell my clients, look, go to Bank of America. They have a great business department. they're going to get you a much better rate than what I can do and a less down payment because they're going to do a true SBA loan or whatever they do. Now, if Bank of America says, no, we can't do this, or Truist, or one of those banks that has a really good commercial lending, because I want to be transparent with people and I want to make sure that you're getting the best option first. Now, if they tell you no, come back to me and when I can do the commercial loans, I can make them happen, right? I get creative. But the banks that I work with on commercial stuff, their rates and their down payments gonna be a little bit higher than Bank of America or the companies that are doing the true like the SBA loans and all that stuff. So I would go there first, see what they could do, and then come to me if they can't do it.
Okay, that's good food for thought. Nadine, did you have any questions for our guest before I ask my other questions?
Yes, I think initially he started talking about it. One of my question was going to be, how do you stay creative when lenders say no? I think you touched on it a little bit, but how do you stay creative when lenders say no?
So a couple things. So it depends on what they're saying no for, right? If somebody has a low credit score, I will kick a dead horse until it comes alive, right? Like I will literally, all right, can we rescore them? Can they put more money down? I'll play with the file until I figure out how I can make it work. The only thing is on my end, I can't play with the file to where, okay, if they have a low credit score and say they brought their credit score up to 600, will they get approved? I can't, none of the loan, we can't run it through FHA or Fannie Mae's system until we actually get the score there. So I do pay for software. It's called it's a credit expert software that will say, okay, if they pay off this, pay off this, pay off this to get their credit score up and send us the proof, I can take the credit expert along with the proof, send it into the credit bureau for you. And usually within 2 to 3 days, I have a new credit report back. So it's super fast where a lot of people are amazed. I had one girl who she came to me, she had a really low credit score, but she had money. And I said, a lot of times, either you need a good credit score and no money, or you can have a low credit score and money. And most of the time, one way or the other, we can figure out how to make it work, right? And so she came to me, she had a good amount of money. She said, how can we make this work? Rescoring her ended up costing me $1,500 because I have to pay every time I do it. I ended up doing it 6 times. Got her credit score up high enough, and then she qualified for the house. And legally, the CFPB won't let me charge people for that. So I end up eating that, but it's with the intent to get them to where they need to be to buy the house, and I make the money on the house from the banks. The banks pay me for bringing them the business.
Wow. That's good. What is the yeah, that's really good. So I know for the listeners out there, people really want to know, because Matt, he's transparent, you guys. He's bringing he's giving you the tea. Okay, he's giving you the tea. So what is what's the credit score that buyers really need, right? To stay on the lowest, right? What's the standard, I should say, I guess maybe credit score that a person needs to purchase a home?
So it used to be, well, it's technically 580. 580, you can buy a home with 3.5% down. And usually, no matter what, anyone I ran through FHA system, I was getting approval at 580. On the back end, they must have tweaked things a little bit, because now if somebody comes to me with a 580, now they have to have some reserves or some other things to sweeten the deal. And I don't know if y'all ever saw that commercial where the guy was like, he was selling cable or something. He's like, hey, let me sweeten the deal. And that's what I got to think about. Is like, how can I make this look? Can they make more money? Can they, let me put in there, they make more money. And then I can go back to the clients and say, all right, look, I'm not getting approval as it is, right, at the 580. But if you had $20,000 in reserves, or you had $10,000 in reserves, or you were able to make some extra money and got a raise. And I actually had a guy where I told him, I was like, man, if you only made $2 more per hour, we can make this work. And you know what? He went back to his employer because his employer just started giving him, he told him he was going to give him an end of the year bonus. And he went to his employer and he said, look, I need to make more per hour to buy this house I want. And his employer said, well, I was going to give you a bonus, but the bonus is irrelevant right now, right? And so his employer said, all right, tell you what, I'll give you $2 more an hour, and I'll just take it out of your bonus. And so it qualified him for the house he wanted.
Wow. I have one more question. So, what's the biggest mistake people make when applying for a mortgage?
Probably transparency. A lot of people think, oh, I don't want to say too much, but when working with someone like me, right? Tell me everything, like, because I've been in the industry. I closed a lot of loans, and actually when I was working for the bank, and I was branch manager, I had other loan officers closing loans. So even loans that I weren't closing, I touched a lot of files. So if as long as they're transparent with the loan officer, and the loan officer knows, hey, you might run into this, or hey, you might see this, or here's what's happened, and as long as you tell us, and we can figure it out quickly. Like I had a girl that on closing day. So usually like right before you close, the lender's going to call your employer and say, "Hey, just want to make sure so and so still works there," and they didn't work there anymore, and so it killed the loan. And if I would have known, because she was fired, but she was interviewing for another job, and if she would have told me that, I could have just went ahead and either, we could have postponed things and just been prepared. So, when they found out she no longer worked there, that we were already, hey, yes, we understood. She no longer works there. Here's her new job. We're good.
Wow. That is interesting. So I want to take it back to the very, very beginning of when you first started your career, and even when you were young, right? Did you always have a passion and interest for financing and banking, or how did you actually end up into this actual profession and career?
So how I got into it? So I've worn many hats, and Cece was talking about it earlier. Like, we throw good parties. Well, I started off as a DJ years ago, but I worked IT, and I was really good at IT. I really good at fixing things, but I was a really good DJ, good self promoter. I got people out there, which really then I left IT. I got into lasers. I was a laser engineer, traveling the world with lasers. But through all this process, I was working as hard as I can to try to buy as many Airbnbs as I could. I started getting into Airbnbs in 2016, and I got up to a point where I had 14 Airbnbs. And I said, you know what? Miss the family. I'm tired of traveling. What can I do where I can work from any beach in the world? And that's when I said, you know what? I didn't even know what loan officers did. I had no idea what mortgage brokers did. My brother-in-law, he owns his own brokerage, and the bank I worked for actually randomly was a friend of his that said, "Hey, do you know anyone in North Carolina who can open up a mortgage branch?" And he said, "Yeah, my brother-in-law." And he asked me if I wanted to do it. So I said, "What does it take?" And he's like, "You have to get licensed and do all this other stuff." And so I did it. It's 28 hours of licensing, and through the licensing, you don't learn anything else except for the laws, because they want to make sure that you understand the laws, because if you do anything illegal, they want to be able to prosecute you and say, "Hey, look, you knew what the laws were here." And so I passed the test. I had no idea what I was doing. I got into it, and I just got really good at the creative stuff, because my passion is I'm a fixer. I went from fixing stuff in IT, fixing stuff on lasers, and then now fixing stuff on mortgages. And if somebody puts something in front of me and says, "Hey, this is broken," I'm gonna sit there and try to fix it, even if it's anything worthless, right? It's just what I do.
I love it. I love it. A fixer. I love it. I love it. I want to kind of stay in the personal realm, right? So what's like one of your most inspiring stories of a person, that you closed, a deal for and stuff like that? What is there one that kind of sticks out in your mind? You're like, man, you made this happen for a family, or whatever the case may be. Do you have one of those stories?
I did have a file close last week. It's taken us about 6 months to close this one. The girl came to me. She had a really low credit score. She really wanted her dad had a house that her dad was hard up for cash. It was a house, like, I guess, I don't know if he inherited it or where he got it from. It was a house just sitting there that needed renovations and everything else. but he wanted to sell the house because he was hard up for cash. She wanted his house. She was renting where she was. When she came to me, she had a really low credit score. And we ran into some issues that, like we got her credit score up, which took a while. The house was older, and didn't qualify for FHA, but we were able to fight it because it was up to code when it was built. And then we ran into some other issues where there wasn't a there wasn't the water source. It was just a natural stream that was pumped into the house for the water source. And so we ran into a lot of issues. And this he was selling it to her for $70,000, right? I don't make much on that, but the fact is, it's something she really wanted, and she did the legwork, and she helped, make sure that, okay, the streams. One of you learn stuff every day. The stream has to be pumping in so much water per day, so she found a family friend of her friend who came in and measured the water pumping in there and put on a document, and we sent it to underwriting and said, hey, the stream is pumping enough water in. And so, like, with her help and with my stubbornness, finally we were able to get it in. It took 6 months, but she closed on that last week, and now she owns this house. And she
Wow.
during the process, she was going in, she was painting, she was doing her own renovations until she got to move in. She didn't think she would ever get there.
Wow. I thought a short sale will take the longest to sell.
Yeah, so I haven't really done a short sale. Um, but short sales take a long time because you got to wait on the banks to approve everything and everything. But um, oh, there was one I did recently also that was really unique. It was a VA veteran borrower. He found a duplex he didn't qualify for, but we pre-approved him based on it was a duplex, so based off the other side, him renting out the other side, and so he qualified for this house. But then he's like, I don't know if I really like it because I kind of want the modern stuff. It's got carpet, I got more modern flooring, I want all this other stuff. And he's like, I'm never gonna have the cash to buy it. He's living off his disability. He's like, I'm never gonna have the cash to buy it, to fix it up. And so it's a VA rehab loan. And so I found him a contractor. It was a VA approved contractor who he gave us a quote. We had the purchase price plus whatever the quote was. We closed on it, and then the contractor goes in, does the work. The escrow ends up paying the contractor, and now this guy has a fully renovated duplex with
Wow.
one loan, one mortgage, and
That's
he he's going to be basically living rent free because the other side is going to make enough money to pay for his side.
That's amazing. Do you find it difficult to work with FHA or VA loans?
So no, so I don't find it any different. I think it's funny that how people are like, oh, I don't want to accept a VA loan. I don't want to accept the FHA loan. It's very rare. Like Cece actually brought me a client here recently who same thing. He's getting a duplex. He was actually supposed to close today. Unfortunately, it didn't happen because it was it was a FHA loan. One of the requirements, and we might have got hit with a requirement either way, was there was no handrails at the stairs. And I guess if the stairs are over 18 inches and there's no handrails, it's dangerous. So the borrower had to go put in handrails, and the appraiser went back in this morning and told us they would get us the appraisal back first thing today, and we're still waiting on it, but we should close tomorrow. But that's the only, I mean, it might have been a holdup because of FHA, but it's not really any harder than a conventional or anything else.
That is impressive. And that's good that you're helping all these people and you're helping make their dreams come true. That is
Mhm.
a great gift for sure to have. And with that in mind, for someone looking to invest in real estate, such as yourself, or even short term rentals, what's your top tip that you would share to help them avoid common pitfalls, especially when they're vetting out like tenants and things like that? Like, what would be your top tip?
So tenants, I would definitely follow the process, right? Like don't go just because you like someone, don't like, you know, if it whatever you want. If you're gonna like I had a lot of renters in my when I had long-term rentals. I vetted them, I had them apply, I ran their credit, and it's not that, oh, they have to have perfect credit. If somebody still had a 500 credit score, I would want to see why, right? Like but then take the deposit up front, first and last month's rent up front, and protect yourself. But as long as you do that and you don't give in, when somebody's like, oh, they're going to take care of your property knowing that you have their deposit. But I've heard of horror stories where people are like, oh, I didn't get enough on the deposit, and at the end they didn't pay their last month's rent because they moved out. So now I'm upside down. And I don't have the funds to renovate it, and they destroyed the place. You should just, stuck to what works.
Gotcha. That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
very
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, what advice would you give to anyone, wanting to refinance in today's market? People, I get all this junk mail and they're like, oh, we're going to and I'm like, can you beat 2%? Like, I don't think that's ever coming back, right? I'm like, no,
No. So I hope we never see 2% again, right? Because what's that mean? That means our economy has crashed and that we're all out of work and we're not making money. Which, at the same time, I am happy of the government shutdown because I don't know if y'all understand how so there's the 10-year note and mortgage rates really follow the 10-year note. And since the government shut down, the 10-year note has been dropping, which means mortgage rates are dropping. So like, and they're expecting the government shutdown to last for 2 weeks. Is that the big picture? Is that what they're shooting for? Is to try to get, because I know that was a big goal. There's to get the mortgage rates down. How do we do that? We create uncertainty, and I mean, is that the big picture, or is there other things that go into the government shutdown that we don't know about, right?
Will we ever see 2% again?
I mean, I hope not. If we do, it's because we have another COVID or we're having economic failures for some reason, and people are unable to pay their bills. And I mean, it would take, our economy would totally have to crash to get down that low again. That was the whole reason they went that low, was to protect our economy from failure. And ever since then, they've been trying to protect our economy from failure. So it's like, it almost feels like, how when you're taking all these pills, vitamins, you're trying to avoid getting sick, and you feel it coming, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get sick, I'm gonna keep taking vitamins. I feel like that's kind of how our economy is right now. It's like they're trying to avoid a failure, like they're going into a recession, so they're like taking these vitamins and they're taking these precautions, but it's like we're teetering that edge right now.
It's funny that you said the word recession, because I know, it was in the news a while back, and this was probably even like last year or maybe 2 years ago, and they were talking about recession and just kind of redefining what a recession is. And I know, just in terms of vernacular, right, verbiage and those types of things, right? I'm like, tell the average American citizen like myself. I don't consider myself an average American. I don't consider myself average in anything, right? But I'm like, oh, positive. It's my outlook. It's my outlook, right? It's my perspective. But I'm like, I feel in my pocketbook feels, right, that we are in a recession. Like, however you want to swing it, when you really look truly at, what a recession is. Now, we can spin it and turn it however the news wants to do. But when I go to my local market and I see the price of milk is $9, you tell me, you know what I'm saying? So those types of things. The reason why I'm saying that is, like, what do you think is a healthy, right, interest rate for a home loan when an economy is thriving, right? Like, what are the interest rates normally? right? Like I don't know all the history on this, and like when there was a time before when we were at 2, 3, 4%, right? I know like back in 2008 because I got a steal on a deal in San Diego, California, right? And then so can you explain that a little bit? You know what I'm saying? Like what would be the ideal healthy per se interest rate for our economy, right? And for buyers and sellers and things of that nature.
Honestly, I think if we got to the low fives, I think that's comfortable for everyone. I think I could see us getting there pretty soon, right? I'm hoping we get there in the next 6 months. But I think they said there's a 95% chance that the Feds are cutting rates again. And Fed rates and mortgage rates, they're not the same thing. But when the Fed drops rates, usually mortgage rates come down a little bit. But I think we'll see a big difference once we hit the 5 range, lower fives. I've got a couple of people I've locked right now who are in the high fives, and just because I locked them at the right time and everything else. But if we can just get a little bit lower, because as we creep down in my industry gets a lot busier. And it's funny that you say that, Cassandra, because like I feel like we're in a recession just because all my rentals, I'm down. And if you go on vacation right now, and no matter where you go on vacation, it's not the same right now. Go to Vegas right now, right? Like Vegas is a ghost town. People don't have the extra cash. But this all started about a year and a half ago, or we went to Busch Gardens last winter for their Halloween Horror Nights, and there was no lines, no waiting. I was a little disappointed because since there wasn't as many guests there, they didn't have as many workers, and it didn't feel right. And so I'm hoping we bounce back, but who knows what's going to take.
I agree. And that's always tough too. I'm glad that you said that because it affects everybody. And so your whole experience, right? For that night,
Yeah.
it was supposed to be so much fun. It changed because of the lack of staff and so on and so forth. And, the people aren't there. It changes the entire experience. And then you're like, man, this was a total dud. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Right. So Matt, walk us through a day in the life. Let's say I'm a client, or Cece's a client, or Nadine's a client. We're looking to hire you to help us with this. What would be the process? What would be a day in the life of us working with you? It's just in general for those viewers and listeners who are interested in reaching out to you for services and support.
So most of the time, it doesn't cost you a thing most of the time to work with me, right? And the reason I say usually is because there's the normal loans, right, where the banks pay me to bring in this stuff, right? The banks pay me, right? It doesn't cost the clients anything. And in return, the banks usually give brokers the best interest rates that you can find, better than if you were to walk into the bank yourself and get an interest rate, because they say, oh, well, this guy does a lot of business. Hey, bring him on board, and we're going to give our brokers the best rates. So most of the time, if a lot of times I talk to people and I'm like, hey, you want me to pre-approve you? And they say, oh no, I got my bank. And I'm like, all right, go ask your bank for a quote, and then call me and I'll get you a quote. Usually what I can get them is better. Now, the other side is if it's a very risky file, the higher the risk of the file most of the time, like if it's an investment property and we're just doing the SCR and it's no income verified, and at that point, a lot of the lenders don't pay our company's compensation, so then it's charged at closing. Or if it is, then it ends up being a higher rate. But so most of the time, it doesn't cost the clients anything to work with us, but with a broker. But like if you came to me and you say, hey, look, I'm looking to buy a property. Most of the time, first I get a feeler. All right, well, what kind of work do you do? What kind of income do you have? What do you think your credit score is? What's your scenario? What kind of debts do you have? Right? If I think there's a way I can help you, I already know when you're applying on, all right, this is probably where I'm going to bring her, right? Then you apply. I request a couple documents, which and then once you upload those documents, we pull credit, we look at the whole credit profile. And at that point, I'm like, okay, we're good. I've ran it through FHA, Fannie Mae, whoever system that I want to bring you to, or think that you're going to work best for. And I say, hey, here's your pre-approval. You're good to go. I usually, if you're already working with a realtor, I will connect you with a realtor that I know or I'm friends with or that I've worked with before that is a reliable realtor. And then they show you all the houses, bring you all out. And a lot of times I'm like, hey, well, look, when you find the house, let me know the address. I want to make sure we don't run into any issues. So I look at the property, check the taxes, the HOA, what I think the insurance will be. And then once all of that's fine too, you put in your offer and you go under contract. Once you have the contract, you give me the contract. I have a team. I have 5 loan officers. I have 1 loan partner, and I have 3 processors. So at that point, once I get the contract, you usually hear from a loan partner. He usually, okay, he'll reach out. All right, here's a couple more documents we need. We need updated bank statements, updated paychecks, so whatever. And then once he fine tunes the file, and we start working with the underwriters, that's when the processing team jumps in. And the processing team I have is amazing. They're trilingual. There's Spanish, English, and Portuguese. And so I end up working with a lot of Spanish clients, a lot of I-10 borrowers. And they, they grab it by the horns. And really, at that point, I don't really talk to the clients that much because it's the processing team holds their hands through that part of the process of, okay, here's what the underwriter wants. And then once we get the clear to close, I try to go to the closings.
That is very helpful. Thank you for walking us through with that. Now, another question to follow up with that. Are you only in North Carolina, or do you do other states as well with regards to loans?
So investment properties, I can do business purpose investment properties in almost all states. When I do a business purpose investment property, it won't report to your personal credit as long as you make your payment. You're signing as a guarantor, but and the reason I emphasize that I own 14 rental properties. When I moved away from next door CC, if we moved to this house and I had 14 rental properties on my personal credit, you know what the bank would have told me? No, you're not buying a new primary residence, right? Like they're gonna give a lot of pushback and be, no, you're just buying that as another investment property. So I have 0 rental properties on my personal credit. They're all in the LLC's name. So when people ask me, how many rental properties do you own? I own none. My LLC owns 14, right? But when you're buying personally, right? Like, so at that point, I forgot where I was going with that. What was the question again?
If you work just only in North Carolina, or do you
cross
borders?
That's right. That's right.
Personal and for commercial or business or et cetera.
So when you're buying in your personal name, so I have to be licensed in the state when you're buying in your personal name. It has to be a TRID file, which is the truth and basically the truth of lending, right? So there's a lot more laws that follow when you're buying in your personal name. So I have to be licensed in those states. So I'm licensed in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida.
That is super, super helpful. Ladies, I'm not following up all the questions. What do you all have for our guests? Because I have another question to ask them.
I don't have any more questions.
Yeah. My last question is, like, for people, buyers that are thinking about mortgages a little bit differently when they're trying to build generational wealth, right? So, like, how should they be thinking about that when it comes to that? You talked about investment properties and things of that nature. If I'm trying to create this whole generational wealth, what do you most, I guess, recommend in the world of mortgages, real estate, that kind of thing, where people can kind of begin to build something that's actually attainable, right, and doable to help build that generational wealth to be able to leave a legacy for their families?
Well, so and that's half the reason why I bought so many properties, because the same thing is my parents aren't gonna leave me much. I want to leave stuff for the kids. But the easiest way to start the process, right, is buy yourself a home, right? Investment properties are great, but a lot of times you have to put a lot of money down on them. Now, if if you don't have the down payment, now down payment's hard to come up with. There's ways to. I helped a lady in Charlotte recently that she bought a $300,000 house. She came to me because the lender never asked her how much cash she had, and I don't know. He gave her a pre-approval. She went under contract, and then he said, "Well, where's your down payment?" And she said, "What down payment?" And he said, "Well, it's 3.5% down, so it's $10,500 down plus your closing costs. You're looking at almost 20 grand." And she said, "You didn't tell me that." And he said, "No, yeah, you got to save up." She said, "There's no way I'm coming up with 20 grand." So she saved while she's under contract. After those 30 days, she's like, "I have 3 grand." And she came to me, and I said, "Okay, I got a program for you." So I was able to do 100% financing FHA. And then we talked to the sellers. The property appraised over value. The sellers were willing to go to that overvalue amount, which was so originally she was under contract for 285. We went up to 300, and they gave 15,000 seller concessions to pay for her closing costs and buy her rate down. And then she got down payment assistance for her down payment, and she ended up going to closing just because we didn't want to take time to balance it anymore. We ended up getting it down to $17 to closing.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive. That's awesome.
That is awesome. Okay, I think I'm gonna be reaching out to you soon, Matt.
Right. So you buy that first house, and then the thing is when you do down payment assistance, the rate is a little bit higher. So call me in 6 months, we refinance you, get you a better rate or whatnot, and then later on down the road, you turn that house into a rental property, and you go do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and then next thing you know, you have compounding equity on multiple properties, and you're making a couple $100,000 a year off just real estate.
Sweet.
Those numbers sound good to me. Yeah, absolutely. So, Matt, with you running all these amazing businesses, managing properties, hosting networking events, what time do you have for family life? How is that looking like?
Very minimal. Very minimal. So, luckily, the when I got into this, right? I got into this during COVID, right? So during COVID, my weekends were full. People were calling nonstop. It was really busy, right? And so I was working 7 days a week. Luckily now, there was a shift. I don't know at what point it shifted, but at least now, my weekends, I don't really. My phone's dead now on weekends. Weekdays, I get phone calls till 9, 10 o'clock at night, and so I don't see the family much during the weekdays, but at least I can hear them in the background, right? Like at least I'm not out of town and totally homesick. I'm here. But yeah, during the weekends, I try to disconnect a little bit. I'm 100% available to everyone on the weekends, but so I answer my phones on the weekends, but really my phone doesn't ring that much on the weekends anymore.
That's awesome. Yes, you have dedicated family time on the weekends. That is beautiful. You're providing and making time for family. That is definitely important. Wow, we've had a juicy conversation, and I feel like we should bring you on for a part 2 in the year, because I'm sure at that point, like you were sharing earlier, hopefully the interest rate would be decreasing at that time, or would have decreased at that time, and I'm sure we'll have more juicy questions for you. But we are going to transition over to last minute words, and this is an opportunity for you to remind the viewers and listeners how they can find you, how they can reach out to you to hire you, work with you, etc. And if you have a quote that you want to share your social media, phone number, email, whatever it is that you want the viewers and listeners to know about you. And to get a snapshot of how that looks like, I'm going to have CC start us off, followed by you, Matt. Then we have Nadine, and I'll close out the show.
Phenomenal. So, hey, I'm your girl, Sienna the Actions with Inspire for Purpose and Girls with Gigs. And my quote, right, is remember, nothing positive ever came from negative thinking. If you want to get in contact with me, check me out on www.girlswithgigs.com or inspireforpurpose.com, and we can connect.
I'm Matt Freeze with Homestead Heritage Mortgage. The best way to get in touch with me is actually go to my website. It's mattfries.com, mattfries.com. And on there at the top of the page, there's a button to schedule a phone call. And that it's pretty available. Not many people schedule phone calls, so you just schedule a phone call, I'll give you a ring, and then and you can also email me at matt@hhmlender.com.
And yes, this is your girl, Nadine Barton. As you see on the screen, Nadia B_1202. You can find me on Instagram and my website, nadinebarton.com. You can find my books, and it will link you to my Amazon account. Again, nadinebarton.com. And also to my body butters, Cabzenza, CABZENZAH.com. Author, travel agent, entrepreneur. And like I always say, life is 10% of what happened to you and 90% of how you react.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, the viewers and listeners, for tuning in to another amazing episode, otro episodio de Hoy en Día TV. Now we are going to spotlight our sponsors. So shout out to our sponsors. We have CC, the Actionist, we have Nadine, and we have some commercials to show you. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Sponsored by Collective Wear, available at www.yessierodriguez.com/shop and myrod-enterprise.com/shop.
From the moment that I put this Cab Zenza on my skin, it feels most amazing. As you can see, it has your skin glistening, it's moisturizing, and it's very, 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 very yummy. You too should get Cab Zenza.
Luxurious body butters.
Sponsored by Divine Beauty and Accessories. Watch Hoy en Día TV, Thursdays, 7:30 p.m.
Dream, explore, discover with Nadine's Travel Oasis. Your next adventure is just a booking away. From breathtaking beaches to vibrant cityscapes, we handle the details so you can make the memories. Luxury, leisure, or last-minute getaways, we've got you covered. Book today and let Nadine's Travel Oasis take you places.
A bold builder of people, purpose, and platforms, Girls with Gigs helps high performers and those desiring to achieve more shift mindsets and activate purpose. Whether it's career or leadership development, personal branding, or knowing your worth. In the job market, transformation has never been closer because this is where purpose meets action and dreams become destiny. Book your free consultation today at www.girlswithgigs.com.
Are you ready to slay the scene and the runway? Calling all aspiring actors and models, this is your moment to shine. Join our powerhouse acting and modeling beginners workshop and unlock the confidence, skills, and presence you need to dominate the stage, runway, and the camera. Learn from industry pros, hands-on modeling and acting experience. Build your portfolio of craft, perfect for beginners. Registration is now open. Sign up at jessierodriguez.com/powerhouse-workshop. We look forward to seeing you there.
All right, and for those who want to be a guest on Hoy en Día TV, we welcome you. Te invitamos a Hoy en Día TV. Just simply email the email that's scrolling at the bottom of the page, hoyendiatv@gmail.com. And also, if you want to be sponsored, we also offer sponsorship packages and opportunities similar to the commercials we have here. Let your business be promoted worldwide. So I'm proud to say that between and listening, you can watch us and listen to us on RSS, Spotify, Amazon Music, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Instagram, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, Podcast Index, Podverse, Deezer, Fountain, True Fans, YouTube, and Rephonic. I think it's REPHONIC. Rephonic. I think that's how you say it. But nevertheless, as you can see, we are a worldwide platform. You can view us and listen to us if you're at the gym, if you're going for a walk, if you're doing some groceries, just whatever. Hey, tune into Hoy en Día TV. Get a dose of that positivity for the week because we are here to motivate, enlighten, inspire, educate, and entertain you, the viewer and listener, with each and every episode. And closing, as I usually say, with regards to the Kármán line. Please rephrase or stop from saying the sky's the limit, and this is why. Because there is a such thing called the Kármán line, which is defined as the altitude 100 kilometers or 62 miles above the sea level, is often used as a official start of outer space. So technically, when you tell yourself the sky's the limit, you're setting yourself a mental barrier. Instead, say this quote that I created back in 2011 when I realized that was a mental barrier. The sky is never the limit because the galaxies are endless. Thank you all for tuning into another amazing episode of Hoy en Día TV. Until next week, hasta pronto.